Hey, good morning. Maria back with another video. It's 8:47 a.m. It is October 15th and it is Thursday morning. So I've been up for a few hours already and I made my bed, got cleaned up. I am facing the day. I've got a few errands I want to run and take care of. So anyway, before I do all of that, which I won't be doing that till later on this afternoon, I decided to make a video, and so, I'm working with PowerPoint. I'm not putting a bunch of slides in here because I'm not demonstrating anything really. So there's sometimes I choose images from like Google, and this one I chose, which is really basic. I thought it was funny because it had the register symbol in it, and it looks, I don't know, it looks kind of funny, but when it comes to graphics and displays and stuff like that, when it comes to making videos, I don't believe I have good organizational skills in finding the right depictions and stuff like that. So I could use some help with that. And there's a video that I saved in my watch later on YouTube to check out about making better presentations, choosing better images, and that sort of stuff. So, I'm aware of it. If you have any suggestions you'd like to make to me, please go ahead and leave them in the comment box. But this video is called Why? And it's some questions that I have in my mind about why I was treated in the way that I did, which I think I covered a lot of that in my other videos. And I believe I came to the right conclusion when I made the video that I did last night. So I just wanted to clarify some things, and by asking these questions and also asking my perps to consider these questions as well, because when you really look at it, we understand the answers to these questions that I'm going to be presenting. So first question I'd like to ask, Abby's written down on my little notebook here. The first question is, why do you feel work history is a shared asset when clearly that's not the case? Now, when you deal with a person who's been married and perhaps maybe their ex-spouse arranged their jobs, whether they were aware of it or they were not aware of it, it's still the work that they put in, okay? It's still the work that they put in, and the contract is between the employer and that person. So it's not a shared asset, okay? It's not, okay? My work is valid. Like the work that I did over at any job that I spent time at, that is my work. It's my labor, okay? So anytime that you deal with somebody who's an outside person, you are still considered an outside person. You are nothing more than a reference to that particular job. And so what these people are doing is illegal because it's a form of trafficking, and the reasons why they're doing it is also a form of trafficking, whether it's to keep me in a marriage or it's the girl solely working from my last previous job to gain some sort of control over me. Okay, whatever the case is, it's not a shared asset. Okay, it's not. I know that in social situations where people get divorced, sometimes groups or Joel and I never had any like shared friends really. We never had that. We had a very, I don't know, closed in life to where we stayed at home and we didn't really mingle with other people. But in a lot of situations where people get divorced, their entourage or their group that they associate with, they start taking sides when it comes to divorce, okay? So when you're dealing with employment, sometimes the employer will say, well, we have this special deal with her ex-family, so we're going to make accommodations so that she can't, go further in her endeavors because this particular person gave her a job. This is illegal. It is illegal, okay? And, people should have the freedom to move on. Now, I understand that I don't have a bachelor's degree, so certain positions are not going to be available to me. They're just not going to be available to me at all. So, and I understand that. Do I think it's right? Because I know that there was a campaign here. There was a lot of preaching and a lot of, what do you call it, propaganda against me, especially after I left the farmer's place. And so, people were kind of closing off opportunities, because when I first came here to this community, this is one of the reasons why I came here, is because, there was jobs posted in the Bakersfield Californian, which was available when I was living in Roseman, California. It was available, and I noticed that the jobs were plentiful, and these jobs fit my skill level. Like they didn't request. Now some of the jobs requested bachelor's degrees, like really high technical jobs, but like a lot of the office positions, there was just they were basing it on your experience. So that's one of the reasons why I came here. Not the main reason, but there was hardly any job postings in the Antelope Valley, so then I moved here. Plus, I like the cost of living, so I came here. All right. So work isn't a shared asset, and so then they feel entitled to. And the reason why I asked this question is because, like, when you get married, you have certain shared assets. Like, if you buy a house, then that house is divvied up. Like if you get divorced or whatever, that house is going to be divvied up. There's usually discussion as to who gets to stay in the house, who's going to have the house, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. Okay, we didn't have any shared assets. We don't have any. Okay, and the work that I put in is my work. My skills that I acquired are my skills. They're not something that can be shared or anything like that. So, I feel obviously a terrible injustice, and I do feel as though my ex-husband's family is using their privilege in going around and then controlling other people, or putting something in place as to where I'm supposed to get someone's permission, my ex-husband's permission to go on to the next phase of my life, when that's ridiculous. Okay, I never asked his family for anything. Never. I never asked them for any help. I never asked them to find me a job. I never did. I mean, I knew that him and his mom, we'd visit his mom every once in a while. Um, and I rarely really didn't see her that often, but I never asked her for anything. I never asked her, hey, could you help me find a job or whatever. And I don't feel comfortable with her being involved in my work, especially now, seeing as how I'm divorced. Okay. And so anyway, so that's my question. So ask yourself, why do you feel as though it's a shared asset? Why do you feel that's the case? Because it's not. If you gave me a hand up, like you provided a job for me at one time, then that's the job that you provided for me. Okay, but that's it. And once I leave, or I'm no longer part of your family, which I never considered myself really a part of their family because I never really knew them that well, it's time for me to move on. And so why do you feel, unless of course you're hoping that I'm going to go back to my ex-husband. And the thing is, I don't want to go back to my ex-husband because you went too far. Okay, you went entirely too far. Not just controlling my jobs, but the whole issue of this relationship that he had, the relationship that he had with his mother, the whole thing. Okay, so why would I? And I'm not the kind of person that's going to hang out with or hang around somebody just for financial reasons, because I don't believe marriages should be based on that. Okay, I just don't. So you're forcing me into a marriage that I don't want. And that's not, I'm not second guessing it. I'm not like, you really don't mean that. I mean that. I mean it. Okay? So ask yourself that question. Why do you feel as though it is? Number two, why do you expect me to want to be in such a network of abuse? Why do you expect me to want to associate myself with people, and not just Joel's family. I'm talking about like my ex family. I'm talking about the girl from my last job. I'm talking about the owner of the farmer's place, whatever, farmer. All these people who clearly showed no regard for me whatsoever. So why do you want, I'm going to ask these people, the farmer, the girl from work, all these other people, why do you want me to be in your network? Why do you want me to be a part of a group that clearly shows no appreciation for what I do and does not respect me? Okay, why do you want me to be a part of, or why is it about keeping the enemy close? Because once I left your place of employment, I wanted to be done with it. Like I didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. Like I thought it was illogical. I didn't understand everything at the time, but now that I do, it's even more like, why are you hanging around? I don't want to have to deal with you. I don't. Okay, and I'm not in denial. I'm not like, because some people, they really do go into denial. They really think they are so likable that something must. She can't really mean it. She can't really mean that. I don't. They don't want to. I don't. She doesn't want to be our friend. You can't really mean. I mean that. I mean that. You know, so why do you want me to be in a network of abuse? Especially, you know, when you've demonstrated that, you know, I could work as hard as I possibly can. I could like move mountains. I could like bend over backwards. I get no acknowledgement whatsoever. Why do I want to be in a network like that? I don't. I don't. So that's the questions you should ask yourself, okay? And so my answer of that would be is because these people want to continually abuse you. That's why. Okay, so I'm providing answers here to these questions, but I would love to hear their answers. They'll never tell me their answers, okay? But ask yourself that question. Okay, number 3. Why expect me to stay married? Why expect me to stay married? Now, some people will speak, is it because you've created so much garbage with your propaganda and your blacklisting that you feel as though, you know, and not just in the campaign smears, that the safest thing for me to do is just stay put and go back to my husband after you put me in this situation? Your ass should have been sued, is what should have happened. And the more I think about this issue, you should have been sued. You know, so we wouldn't have had this issue. I don't care who's involved in this or who told you. If my mother said it was okay to act this way, or my sibling said it, or my ex-husband said it, and his family said it, and the girl at the workplace or whatever, it doesn't matter. What you did was illegal, and you put my life at risk, and you trampled on my rights, and you assisted in trying to keep somebody married. Okay, there's so many things to this that, you know, I find it's just shocking. It's absolutely shocking. So why expect me to stay married to someone who abused me? Is it because, you know, that's the only reason why I can think of it? Because think of is that you feel as though, you know, she would be better off with a marriage partner, even if he's abusive to her. You know, unless of course you want me to be abused by somebody, because that doesn't make any sense to me. Why stay married? It's not. It's pointless. Oh yeah, number 4. Why control my jobs? Now I'm going to answer this question based on what I believe my ex-husband's family feels. They feel as though, you know, I feel or suspect that they resent my ability to provide for myself, and they feel competitive maybe, you know, that I'm going to get some high paying job or whatever. And, you know, they feel like, well, we gave you this job, and so, you know, we don't want you to take advantage of the experience that you had and the time that you put in all on your own. So we want to scoop it up and take it back, you know, and I'm sorry, you know, that's wrong. It's just illegal. But anyway, so why do you want to control my jobs? Is it because you want to force me to stay married to this person who clearly abused me? Because forced marriage is a form of human trafficking, and it's against the law. Okay, and I would never want to cooperate in that sort of marriage. Like, let's just say, for example, somebody forced me to physically move back in with my husband. I would never give him a day's rest. I would give him hell every single day of his life. You know, why would you expect me to go back to somebody who literally abused me out in the open and did all kinds of bullshit behind my back? Okay? I really want you to ask yourself that question. So, number 2, why control my appearance? Why does my clothes and the way that I appear, which I believe is very professional, why do you contest that? Okay, and here's some of my answers. Number 1, um, if you're trying to do it because you don't want me to find someone else, um, because you want me to stay married to your within your family, that's a form of forced marriages. Okay, and I'm not trying to limit my life or reduce the quality of my life for someone who doesn't love me, and I don't love them. Okay, so that's an issue. Number 2, is it because of the girl at work? Now, the girl at work, like I said, or suspected that she probably had a relationship with the guy from high school as well as my ex-husband. So my ex-husband at the time, you know, because when he first met me, I was actually leaner. I was a lot leaner when he first met me. As a matter of fact, I didn't have any flab on me or anything like that when he first met me. I mean, I have flab now, okay, but when he first met me, I didn't have any flab, okay. I considered myself to be pretty firm at that time, okay. And so that's how he met me, you know. And so when we got married, or we got together, we got married, and all that other stuff, you know, I've always been that way. I've always preferred to uh, stay at a certain level, okay? And personally, I mean, could I lose a few pounds now? I mean, probably, but I don't really care so much about that. But at the same time, I don't sit here and want to throw down a bunch of food in my body and like blow up. That's just not who I am, okay? And my ex-husband always seemed to be supportive of those things. Like I know back in 2012, I had a little illness that I took care of, and you know, I lost a lot of weight at that time. And so after I started feeling better, he would take me out to the garage and he showed me exercise techniques. Okay, he showed me exercise techniques. He always supported not just the exercise, okay, which I really enjoyed some of the exercise, okay, but it's not something that I like so much that I want to continue doing that stuff now. Like I was invited to go to the gym recently, and I'm like, you know, I'm not a gym person, okay? I'm not really into that sort of exercise, okay? But I enjoyed it at the time. It was okay. But if he showed support in that issue, when I would go shopping, there were times he suggested we go shopping. He knew that these are the things that I like to do. Now, the things that I like to do, yes, I like clothes, I like those sort of things. He never had an issue with that. Okay, so why are you, especially since when I was married to my ex-husband, if he was my husband at the time, I don't really know, okay, but if he showed support and condoned what I was doing, why do these outside people care? Especially at this point. Now, some people feel like when if they're not in a relationship, they don't see any point in doing their hair or putting on some new clothes or anything like that because they don't like clothes. They're not clothes enthusiasts. Now, I would consider myself a clothes enthusiast. I like clothes. I like different styles. I like different colors. I like this change of season. You know, you're doing something in the winter, you're doing something different in fall, you're doing all these things. I've always loved clothes, okay? So, for some people who don't like clothes or they're just kind of indifferent to clothes, if they finally do find somebody, like they have a love interest all of a sudden, then they're gonna change, and start maybe a woman who usually wears pants, she's gonna suddenly start wearing dresses. If she usually wears her hair in a bun, she might start wearing it down because she's trying to get that person's attention. But I have always been this way. I look pretty much the same. I would say maybe about 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was when I moved here originally back in 2000. Okay. The only thing that I have changed when it comes to me is my hair. Okay. Because when I first moved here, I wasn't relying on hair pieces to give me a professional look because I still had a full head of hair. Okay. I had a full head of hair. And throughout the years, I dealt with a lot of breakage, I dealt with a lot of damage, I dealt with a lot of issues that black women probably understand. Okay, so I started using, but other than my hair, I pretty much look the same, and maybe a little bit of extra pounds. I pretty much look the same. So I've always been this way. Now there's been times where I remember putting on like 25 pounds and then I got rid of that, but for the most part I look pretty the same, much the same. I'm pretty much consistent. Yes, I have a shitload of gray hair. When I can, I try to color it or whatever, but I'm pretty much look the same. So if why try to control my parents, especially when it comes to things like work or when I'm out in public? Why are you trying to do this? Are you trying to do it because you're fearful that I'm going to find someone else? No, that's not my issue. I like clothes. I love them. I think they're great. You know what I mean? But my answers to these questions are number one. Answer number one. Could it be that you're trying to continually force me to be married? Are you trying to prevent me in some way from finding someone else? Okay, now obviously I've said it over and over again, I'm not interested in finding someone. Okay, but if I wanted to find someone, why shouldn't I? Especially if he did indeed have a relationship with his mother and he also had one with the girl at work. Now, I'm not interested in finding someone. And I personally think all these people who contact me through Facebook Messenger are perps. I personally think that they are. Okay, but or I suspect that some of them are. Maybe some of them are sincere, but I really don't. I think most of them are perps because it was a huge blow up on Facebook. Nobody should know me from Adam. I'm like, I'm somebody who, it doesn't matter if I have psychic intuition or whatever. There's a lot of people in this country and other people abroad who have psychic intuition. So I'm not like some sort of famous person that should be getting all this attention. What happened was on Facebook, my shit went like, I don't know, all around the world. So I get all these fucking bullshit things based on the crap that happened to me in 2008. Okay, but if I wanted to find somebody, I could lower my standards and start dating people that I meet, and they're probably going to be honey traps and all other kind of bullshit. Okay, but still, like I said, I'm not interested in that. But if I wanted to, I should have every right to. Okay, and to try to control that part of a person's life, whether they find someone or they don't, that's bullshit. Especially you expect me to show love and devotion to somebody who clearly didn't show that to me. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's it right there. So that's one of the answers, trying to force me to stay married. Okay, number two, since my ex-husband always condoned and even seemed supportive of my practice of eating well, and even he, like I said, he even showed me exercise techniques to tone like body flab and stuff like that. He showed me these sort of things. Okay, and then also, like I said, he would take me shopping. He always watched me, when I bought something new, I would try it on in front of him. And all of these sort of things that women do with men or whatever. See, he seemed supportive of it. So, number two, answer. It must be an issue with the girl at work. Seeing as how she had an interest in the guy from high school, and she possibly had an interest in my ex-husband. Now, I had no idea. I knew she was acting weird and acting strange and competitive, so she most likely is responsible for this bullshit. Because she feels as though she's in competition with me. And the thing is, like I said, had I known that she was in the picture or anyone else was in the picture or whatever, I would have just left it alone. I would have tried to make accommodations for myself to move out earlier before at the time. Because if I would have found out at the time, I would have said, okay, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Okay, I would have left right away. Okay, I wouldn't have sat here. And like I said, I'm not one of those women who's going to be like, she's trying to get my man. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not one of those people because I'm old enough to understand that those sort of competitions are not for me. You know what I mean? If a person is showing an interest in somebody outside of their relationship, then obviously it's either time to go or whatever. I wouldn't have stuck around. So this girl feels as though she's competitive of me. She wants to control my appearance. She wants to control, and I personally don't see what is so offensive about my appearance. Okay, I think I present myself well in front of employers. Now when I'm thinking about this, going back in time of when I was working over at the Farmer's Place, now I remember her wearing a lot of low-cut shirts, a lot of low-cut shirts. Okay, she showed her cleavage multiple times. And I'm not judging, like I said, because, when it comes to clothes, there's a lot of clothes, especially women's blouses, and I've noticed this, and even women's blouses, like in the professional areas, because I used to go to JCPenney's and Macy's and May Company and all those other places back in the day, okay, I would visit those places, and I remember even buying a few outfits there, like shirts and shells and stuff, and I was surprised because you would think something that's for work would be a little bit more modest, especially in the chest area. I remember a lot of my shirts that I would buy from these stores, I'd have to come home modify it in some way by either putting a safety pin in it or taking it to my sewing machine and sewing it up a little bit. There were even times where I added buttons to shirts that were so low cut. Okay, so my clothes were always modest, especially when it comes to work. You never see any cleavage when I go to work. As a matter of fact, you don't see me wearing clothes that reveal my cleavage at all. You know, there's some that, like when I wear a tank top or whatever, there's a few videos that I remember talking on my videos, and then all of a sudden, you know, your tank top starts to lower a little bit. I immediately scoop it right back up. I'm a very modest person. Okay, so the only issue, those are my two issues, either trying to force me to stay married, or number two, because I have this woman who wants to compete with me. I'm not interested in competing with you. Okay, you're the winner. Go ahead and have this guy and that guy and whoever you want. Okay, but I'm not interested in playing that game. All right. Number 6. Oh, why force religion when the lives of some of these people are what I consider to be debaucherous? Now, when it comes to the girl at work, the girl at work, I know that she was trying to enforce her religious views and stuff like that, as well as my ex-family and whatever. Okay, now I'm trying, and please forgive me if I'm wrong. Okay, but here's a person who took it upon herself to break up a marriage, and you're going to try to tell me how to live a moral life. You're showing your cleavage, and you're trying to tell me that I'm doing something wrong. Don't go there, okay? Also, you know, and I know there's going to be issues relating to people who are involved in incestuous relationships. There's always going to be debate about that. Okay, I personally think if you're old enough, you want to consent to something like that, you're old enough to consent, that's your choice. It's not for me. I would, it doesn't appeal to me. I don't believe in incest. Okay, and there's some people, you know, because I know in the Old Testament, incest was kind of overlooked. The only form of incest that was looked down upon was when a man slept with his mother, because somehow or another it was somehow offensive and demeaning and somehow created some sort of disrespect along the family lines, like you disrespected the father if something like that happened. But I understand it's one of those things, and people have all kinds of fetishes and whatever. You know, that's for them, but I don't agree with it. All right, but when you are basically deceiving people, especially using lies in your campaigns to, you know, convert me into your religion. Like, for example, I will tell you an example of a lie. A lie would be employment baiting. Okay, you're basically, like, for example, the last job that I had over in Buttonwillow. Okay, now, it was advertised as no, it wasn't even advertised. I received a job requisition from the owner of the company saying that it was a controller position. Okay, and then you get there and it's like, and then they're actually calling you something else. That's a lie. You know? Or, you know, setting up a honey trap. Like if Joel was a honey trap, if he was a honey trap and he was pretending all along, then that's a lie. And you can't sit here and promote a religion. And don't get me wrong, I know I lied to my husband. Okay? I lied to my husband about me being of mixed race. That's a lie. I'm not saying it was right, okay, but at the same time, I wasn't trying to convert somebody into religion. Okay, so are we trying to make this a moral issue? Because there are no morals involved in it. Are you trying to convert me to your religion because you feel as though I have bad morals? I have great morals. But the people who are involved in this, I would say don't. Okay, based on all the things that they did, the tricks, the surveillance, the disrespecting of my life, the exploitation, the human trial, all of it. Okay, so this is not a moral issue, but what it is about, the answer to this is because you want some sort of control. You think when people adhere to certain religions, then they feel compelled to adhere to certain dogmas. That's their choice. You choose to be a part of a particular religion. Religious dogma should never be imposed on anybody. Okay, but the reason why a lot of people use religion is because they are wanting to control you. So those are my answers. Okay, so here's another one. Why worry about what I eat? Now this is another issue that I think I kind of covered in my appearance issue question. Like I said, Joel and I, my ex-husband and I, sometimes we shared meals, and sometimes it didn't. And there were times where I made food for everyone, and there were times where I didn't. And I will explain this right now. When I first got together with my ex-husband, I remember we would prepare meals together a lot. And then I realized he told me one day he didn't like leftovers. He didn't like eating the same thing over, because I'm the kind of person, I will eat that in the refrigerator until it's gone. Okay, so then we started like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and make this, and then you go ahead and have a burger. And we never had any issues with it. You know what I mean? We never had issues about what we ate, what food was being served. If I was cooking spaghetti and he was like, I want a Carl's Jr. hamburger, then he'd go get that Carl's Jr. hamburger. Now, some people, they want to sit down, and a lot of families don't sit down and eat meals together anymore. That's kind of a thing that of the past, especially nowadays. There's a lot of people who don't even have a kitchen or dining room table in their house at all. Okay, but we always had this issue. Now, there were times where he was interested in the food that I was going to make, or he just didn't really feel like getting up and going out and getting that burger or whatever. So he would eat, and then that was a non-issue. Okay, and then when it came to snacks and stuff, he and I had different taste. You know what I mean? I like fruit. I don't ever recall him ever seeing him eat fruit. Okay, I would buy apples and grapes and stuff like that, and I never saw him eat one piece of fruit, like ever. But that's the kind of stuff I eat. You know what I mean? I like fruit. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who's going to eat Twinkies and Ding Dongs and Ho-Hos all day. I'm not one of those people. As a matter of fact, I don't even like Hostess. I think it's low quality. Low quality desserts. When I do want a dessert, I want a nice, rich, decadent piece of chocolate cake or a nice cheesecake or something like that. Okay, but I don't believe in eating that all the time. You know what I mean? I pretty much reserve those things for holidays. So he always respected that. At least he did in front of me. So are you concerned that you're concerned about my weight because you want to keep me married? Once again, this falls under the whole category of forced marriages. Number two, other answer is it might have something to do with the girl at work. I know the girl at work, I think she was a little heavy set, if I remember correctly. And you know what? I do remember her saying that she struggled accepting herself. I remember her saying that. She said she wasn't happy with her weight. So, and I know my ex-family used to have issues with me because way before I even met this girl at work, I would be dealing with, catty women at work from my family, because it was always the same thing, the same little thing. And you know what? Some people, I don't believe that I should be eating junk food. I ate junk food all my life. Seriously, I grew up eating junk food all my life. As a matter of fact, my mother used to reward us with food. Like if we, seriously, like if I helped clean out the garden or something, she's like, okay, I'll do this and I'll give you a Milky Way and, stuff like that. And I realized that my mother had bad habits. My family had bad habits. They had bad eating habits. When we were growing up, every Friday, we would have, like we'd go to a burger place, and one burger wasn't enough, so they'd have to buy us two, and I think a lot of times when your families, like my father, he was raised in poverty, so there was hardly any food, so he always made, an effort to kind of overfeed us. Like we had too much food. I remember back in the 80s, like our grocery bill was about $1,200 each month on food. And by the time he would buy bring the groceries, the food, the refrigerator was completely stocked. And within 2 days, a lot of the food was already depleted. Okay, we ate a lot. We had bad eating habits. I remember eating chocolate candy bars for breakfast and soda for breakfast. And then I remember all my life I kept thinking, this is not what I want to do in my life. I don't want this. I hated it. But I knew that I had this like this addiction too at the same time. And I remember eating whole pizzas to myself. You know what I mean? The whole thing. I would sit in one setting and eat pizza all to myself. And after I finished it, I hated myself. I hated myself. And for years and years and years and years, I thought, this isn't what I want. I don't want this. I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I would come home from work and just flop on my bed and just feel like sweaty and sticky all day, and I hated it. So then I changed it, you know? So, same thing. The same issue. Is it because you're trying to keep me married? Or the girl at work is trying to compete with me. I'm not interested in competing with you. You want those men, go ahead and have those men. You know? But I don't want anything to do with you. Number 8. Why do you think that I'm not qualified to do my work when there's other people in this town who don't have bachelor's degrees and have jobs? Now, even somebody who is starting out like a person who's just entered like their first year of college, okay, they can easily go out and get themselves a job processing payables, receivables, or something like that. They're able to do that. I've been working in accounting for 23 years. Why do you feel as though you want to critique me and tell me that I have some learning process to do or whatever? Why do you feel like you always want to do this? Is it number one, because you feel like you want to continually discredit me? Or is it number two, the girl from work who wants to somehow initiate some sort of bullying? I've been working before I even met this girl. Before I even met her, knew her, or even heard her name, I had been working for a very long time. And there's people in this community, okay, who don't have a bachelor's degree or any college at all, and they have jobs. Okay, and besides, I was willing to take jobs like as a cashier or something basic, just to have some extra money to make sure I didn't have, I wasn't broke. I was willing to do that. Okay, but why are you preventing me from getting even the most menial job? Okay, is it number one because you want to force to keep me married? You don't want me interacting with other people because you are afraid that I'm going to go find somebody? I'm scared to death of people. I don't trust a goddamn person, okay? My issues relating to work is I try to keep myself in a sunny disposition. I try to be happy at work. I try to be positive. I try to, I just want to go to work, right? So I was willing to work at a department store. I was willing to do even fast food as long as it was cashiering. I didn't want to whatever. I was willing to do whatever I had to do in order to have extra money to be able to pull my weight. I didn't want to put this whole responsibility on my son. I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? So why prevent me from working at all? Unless, of course, you want to dictate what I do. And that's wrong. Women cannot, I can't plan my life. When I have no control over my life for dealing with human trafficking. Okay, so ask yourself that question. Why? Okay, and number 9 was this pretty much the same question as number 8. It was like, why can't I look for smaller jobs? So that kind of, like I said, it's the same with number 8. Number 8. Why can't I look for smaller jobs? Unless, of course, this is about control. And I'm not, I shouldn't have to argue or state my case on this. It's wrong. And then you want to control everything I do and then expect me to show you love and kindness and want me to forgive and just shrug my shoulders and think it's okay. It's not okay. You basically impoverish somebody and deny them their rights. And I think there's a lot of selfishness and greed there, especially since you may have given me the opportunity to work in a place, but you didn't give me my skills. You didn't give me my knowledge. You didn't give me those things. Those are mine. And they have the right to be exercised any way I want them. They're mine. They're mine. My work habits, my work ethics, everything that I know that relates to work is mine. Okay, nobody taught me how. None of you guys taught me how to do Excel. That was me. No one taught me how to type or how to work Microsoft Word or learn different skills that relating to the office. That was all me. They're my skills, and they have every right to be used by me because I'm the owner. That is something you cannot divvy up in the court system. It's mine. Number 10. Why is my art and hobbies an issue when it comes to employment? Now, if that's not the most ultimate form of control, I don't even know what is. It's like what I do on my free time. Okay, I know they wanted to label me artistic. Okay, when I went over there to passive aggressive stupidity, that place, I took this test because at the time they were mobbing me, and it was their fault that I was being mobbed at work, right? So because I'm being mobbed at work, they're thinking, well, maybe she doesn't have the management skills that she should be. She should be, because what's going on at her workplace? Didn't they realize they were causing the problem? So they ended up, making the owner pay money to this so-called professional services company and making me take this test about, whether I was qualified for the kind of work that I was doing. And obviously the test showed that it did. As a matter of fact, the lady, she told me, she's like, yeah, you're qualified. This is the kind of work that fits you. That's what she said. You're in the right kind of work. Okay? Because what was indicated on my test was not any sort of thing that indicated that I was artistic. But I had people who were threatened, by my intellectual abilities, didn't want to give me credit. And these people knew that I was an intellectual person. They knew it all along. They knew. Okay, but see, why do I want to be around people who don't give me credit for who I am? To acknowledge me for what I am? And people who always want to hide or prevent me from being to living up to my full potential. That's abuse. Okay? And then when you do art projects, they don't like your art. So they're going to sit here and bully you and make it so that you can't get a job because you want to create things on your own free time. See, that's wrong. Okay? That's wrong. Okay? So, those are the questions that I had, And so when you ask yourself, you can't come up with any logical answer other than being selfish. That's the only thing you can come up with. I don't want to compete, if with anyone. I don't. In this life, I just want to get through it. And I've tried just getting through it all my life. Like, I've dealt with employment issues that I shouldn't have to deal with. You know what I mean? I'm not going to apologize for wearing a nice outfit to work. Okay, you're supposed to. If I owned a company, I want my employees to be dressed well. Why? Because it reflects positively on the company. That's why. If I had a company, I would prefer people wear proper work attire. That's what I would want. And I would feel very pleased that my employees would make an effort to be well groomed to come to my company every day because they're helping me look good. Okay, I resent all the pain and the sorrow that these people have caused me. I'm not saying that when I lied to my husband that it was right. It was a bad thing to do. Okay, but I will say I didn't expect us to get married. I didn't expect any of that. Really, I didn't. Okay, but I know he moved in really quick, and then things just kind of started taking off from there. And so you get what you get. Okay, but at the same time, nothing justifies this sort of behavior. Nothing justifies this sort of bullying. Okay, if he didn't like who I was, then you know how you deal with it. You get a divorce, which I did 2 years ago. Okay, we got divorced 2 years ago. And that's it. It should be as simple as that. We get divorced. And it shouldn't be any of this, like, well, let me spy on her, and I'm going to, like, put all these ridiculous things in place and all this other, and they expect and demand me to be, you know, and like I said, I don't have a problem being single, okay? But when you are basically trying to prevent me from ever finding anyone else, how selfish could you be? Especially, it's okay for you to have a relationship with your mother. It's okay for you to have a relationship with the girl at work, right? But don't you dare go out and find someone else. That's insane, okay? And if I wanted to find someone else, then I should be entitled to do that. But obviously, that's not a priority with me. But it's just the fact that you expect these things from someone. You expect me to show loyalty and devotion to you when you haven't shown that to me. You see what I'm saying? So it's abuse. Okay, and I recognize it. So anyway, and then I can go on and on and on about my ex-family, their participation in this, and how is it that these people could do something like this and then expect me to be okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with any of these people. You know? I do remember having this argument, it was like a spat. Like, she and I had an exchange of words. I'm referring to the girl over at the farmer's place. And I was realizing that she was like causing problems. Her and the general manager were causing problems, okay? Because they had this shared idea about the Sabbath being Saturday or whatever. So I started noticing signs of being ganged up on, okay? And I remember talking to her and confronting her, and she started crying like she always did, okay? She was always crying. And she was like, "You have to forgive." And here's the thing. This is why I very leery of people who want to use religion to control other people, because they want you to put up with ridiculous amounts of abuse, and they want to use religion as a way to control you, so that you don't question, so that you are obedient, that you are going to just take all kinds of abuse, ridiculous abuse, and you're going to accept it. I'm not dumb, okay? I've studied religion. And I also understand social issues. I understand psychology. I understand what motivates people. And this little girl is a liar. Plain and simple. Okay? Who I don't want in my life. And I don't want Joel's family in my life. And I don't want my blood relations in my life. And yeah, I know, that put me in a very bad spot, doesn't it? Somehow I ended up getting smeared. My reputation got smeared out of somebody's jealousy and immaturity. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I will not apologize for anything. And I think we all want to have people that we feel a certain closeness to. Everybody does. We all need that. Okay? But like I said, when you are somebody who has a higher level of intelligence, you find a lot of discontentment with a lot of people. And the reason why is because you know certain things are wrong, and you see a lot of people engage in certain behaviors that you find you can't tolerate it, because you know it's wrong. It either leads to something disastrous, it could possibly be illegal, and a lot of people do a lot of things on impulse. They do a lot of silly things that you understand shouldn't be done. Okay? So in my life, I have always looked and searched for people who had like a higher level standard of living, and that's in me. Like, I want to be around people who are decent. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not. I have my flaws, okay? But I don't want to be around people who are going to engage in bullying campaigns. I don't want to be around people who are insecure about their religious faith, and they want to bully people, and they want to use religion as some sort of mask to commit crimes. I don't want to be around people who are catty and who are constantly comparing themselves to me. I want to be around people who are confident and people that I can enjoy. Now, I understand when it comes to work and when it comes to your daily exchanges, whether you're going to the store, you're dealing with a clerk, or your bank clerk, or you're dealing with people on the street, but people that I want to hold close to me and be dear to me, I want people who have the same standards of living as I do. And see, the thing is, my ex-family and Joel's family, they don't have the same standards of living as I do. They don't believe the same things that I do. Okay? I believe in my lifestyle 100%. I believe in my way of living. Do I think it's good for everyone? No, but it's good for me. Okay? And those are the kind of people that I want. People who are accepting of who I am. And people who understand what it means in order to live a proper life. And that's what I want in my life. So there is no compatibility between any of this as people. Because what you're asking me to do is you want me to lower my standards of life so that I can be your friend, what I don't want to be. Think about it. I'm going to wrap up this video. I'll be back with another video some other time later. To all TIs, stay safe.